Good to see everyone. Good to be back. I hope everyone has had a good start to the spring. I know I too am excited to see the snow piles dwindling because all that means is that the building outside goes up even faster, I hope. So if you see me driving down University Avenue a couple dozen times a day, you know why, making sure that they're staying on task over there. But excited to see that facility going up and excited to be talking about spring ball. It's been I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but 75% of our current roster has never been through spring. And so it's been a very exciting and I think positive offseason. I think this offseason, like once again, shows the value of uninterrupted development. Over the course of the last 2 years, we've had guys coming and going, out for 14 days, out for 10 days, out for 30 days, and that just doesn't allow each individual to maximize themselves or be the best version of themselves. And I can't say enough about Jim Kramer, Eric Perkins, Kelly, our nutritionist. Some of the numbers that our guys have shown, especially our younger players, who this is really the first off season that they've had, the consistent off season. And I think the consistency piece is one of the things that has allowed us to have sustainability here. But just some examples, the 3 young men that had the most improvement on their squat were all underclassmen, and they were all offensive linemen. And so you're talking about freshmen, sophomores, guys that really need this development right now. As far as Hunter Lipke, who everyone in here knows is an unbelievable talent, very athletic, improved his vertical jump 4.5 inches this offseason. So all of a sudden, again, you go back to the consistency and what Jim and his staff do in there. Bryce Friday, a second-year, 280-pound D tackle, 30-inch vertical. And just to all of a sudden see, and again, not to be up here to pat ourselves on the back, but just to see the value of what we've been missing over the course of the last couple of years. Really excited. And then we had 4 guys lower their short shuttle or their pro agility by 0.2 of a second, and one of them under 4 seconds. That's unbelievable when you talk about just the athleticism that kids have. But at the same time, I tell our team all the time, the last 2 things you ever want to be recognized is talented and having a lot of potential, because that means you haven't executed, and that means you haven't really made any plays yet. So spring ball is going to be a great opportunity for a lot of our guys. We did have some staff changes this offseason. Really excited for Lee and Connor, both of them getting coordinator jobs at really good Division II universities. Both of them going to do a great job. Our quality control positions are oftentimes probably not recognized enough. Those guys do an unbelievable amount of work, time and effort put into those positions so we can work effectively and efficiently throughout the weeks. And so excited for both those guys. I know, I believe Lee just started spring ball today, and so I'm sure he was drinking out of a fire hose being a first-time coordinator. But best of luck to both those guys. And then the addition of Lewis Walker. Super excited. A young man that I met probably 4 or 5 years ago through a mutual friend. We had the opportunity to go out and find what I thought, just find the very best football coach we could. And up to this point, a month later, I feel really good about it. You talk about a young man that has energy, understands the position, played the position, played at the Power 5 level, played in Canada, knows what it takes to be a professional, knows what it takes to practice like a professional, and I think he's going to bring a lot of value to the back end of our defense, especially as we move forward through spring ball. Offensively, just some things that I'm going to point out personnel-wise, and then we can wrap it up with some questions. But you talk about a quarterback room that has 4 capable bodies. It's unbelievable, the caliber of young men, but also the talent level that's in that room right now. All of them continue to be great leaders. All of them continue to try to expand their knowledge of what we're doing offensively. There wasn't but 3-4 days after the national championship or after our return from Frisco, those guys were back in the quarterback room watching cut-ups, doing NFL studies, but trying to expand their knowledge. And so really excited to see all 4 of them get to work this spring. The running back room, Jalen Bussey will be out, broken foot at the end of the year. That's why he was unable to play. All anticipation he'll be back for the season, be back for the summer months. Dom Ganella just returned on Sunday from a small 2-week stint with minor league baseball. He will be returning back there after finals up through maybe the 4th of July, trying to get in as many games as he can. Kobe, T-Mac, all those guys look great right now. Sometimes it's amazing what 8-9 days will do to an 18 to 22-year-old when you get a little bit of a spring break. And, the other young man that really has jumped out, TK Marshall, almost 210 pounds. Has allowed himself to become a bigger back and really excited for the role that he can play. And again, we have so many different tempos in that room. That's what makes me excited with our run game as we continue to evolve and move forward in the spring. Tight end and fullbacks, Noah Gindorf will be the assistant tight end coach over the course of spring. Again, in a boot right now, but anticipate he'll be back in the summer, which is going to allow young men like Joe Stuffle, Finn Diggins, Travis Yankee, Andre Carrier, young man from Cavalier, North Dakota. Came here 195 pounds, he weighs 230 right now. And, this is going to be a great moment. All these guys are healthy as well. And then Jacob Street, young man who transferred here at semester, has all the tools, has all the tangibles, the measurables. Now he's got to see if he can figure out what we're doing offensively, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Fullback-wise, we're gonna limit Hunter to a certain extent. I anticipate him going through a lot of Indy, maybe doing some things at the tight end position, but very little at the fullback. Hunter Brosio is back 100%. Luke Waters, Logan Hofstad, Truman Warmeyer, 242 pounds right now. Big kid. Running well. Both Brosio and Logan will take over the long snapping duties throughout the spring. O-line, we have 9 to 10 kids back. Man, when you can say something like that, you have to be extremely excited. And then you throw in a Hunter Pontius, Gray Zabel, I feel like is as healthy as he's been since he arrived. Mason Miller and the other true freshmen we have just continue to grow and develop, not only physically but mentally as well. Nash and Cody Malk will be limited to a certain extent throughout spring. You throw in the last year or the 25 games we played, both those two young men played nearly 1,600 snaps. And so getting all the team reps isn't going to be what's valuable. We'll continue to get them into the one-on-ones, the Indy drills, some of those things, so we continue to develop them from a fundamental standpoint. But I don't know if they need to have all the line of scrimmage work or the live or the 11-on-11 work that we do during spring. And then, of course, wide receivers. It's a very talented group. Of course, Thursday pro day for a young man by the name of Christian Watson, but really look forward to seeing Phoenix Sproles continue to elevate. And his numbers from the spring show that he's back better than he was pre-injury. And really excited about his leadership and the way he's kind of taken over that room. It is a young group. Rajah Nelson, Braylon Henderson, DJ Hart, Tyler Terhart, Chris Harris. Not very many catches, but very talented. And so it'll be fun to watch Noah Pauly work. Zach Mathis is back from injury. GC, Volpentesta, played a lot for us, more in a blocking sense. Can we get him involved now in our pass game? We need to continue to evolve that area. Defensively, Will Mostart's playing D-tackle now. Dylan Hendricks was moved from linebacker to defensive end and has done a really good job up until this point. Of course, Spencer Wagee will be out this spring, but anticipate he'll be back for the summer and ready to go. Bryce Friday, a young man I mentioned earlier, had a great offseason. Really looking for him to continue to elevate his game. And where are the reps, where are the snaps, where can he find some value during the course of the spring and the season? And then, of course, Tony, Kava, Lashaka, Cole Menz, very steady. Cole, young player out of Cheyenne. Hopefully we can use sparingly at different positions and different times throughout the year and expedite his development. At linebacker, Luke Wirtz is healthy. Will be permitted to go through spring in a non-contact form. We'll put him in a white jersey and just continue to move forward, but he needs all the reps and all the looks that he can get. Logan Kopp, Nick Kubitz, both have had exceptional springs. Kaiser is running right now. We'll have no contact. And, of course, Cole Wisniewski, we anticipate being back for fall camp this summer with Cole's injury. Cole, at the time of his injury, 6'3 plus 230 pounds. And was doing everything right and just one of those freak deals that nobody was prepared for. I anticipate at some point someone's going to ask about the outside linebacker position, and so I'm going to give you a list of people that are going to have opportunity, or they're going to have interviews for this position. Of course, we got Tutsi and Dawson and Dom Jones in our nickel package that can continue to play at that spot. Oscar Benson, Sam Young, Enoch Sibomano was moved from safety to outside linebacker this offseason. Julian Ledarsic is going to cross-train between strong safety and outside linebacker for us. And, of course, Ty Satter. Another big, long body. I mean, you're talking about, minus Enoch and Sam, you got a bunch of guys that are 6 foot plus, 205, 210 pounds, big frame guys that can beat blocks, can win in space. We just got to make sure that the game's not too fast for them. And so I'm excited about that group of young men right there and their willingness and their ability to play at that spot. In the back end, Dawson and Michael probably going to be limited a little bit more to some individual time. Julian, like I said, is going to cross-train. The bulk of the reps need to go to Dom Jones, Ty Gordon, Ty Satter, Reggie King, Sam Young, some of our younger players right now. At corner, we feel like we have 4 young men that are really playing at a high level. Jaden Price will be out with a wrist injury. That is kind of day-to-day right now. We're still waiting to get some feedback from our medical personnel. Destin Talbert will be limited just due to the fact that it's his going into his 5th year of school. 2 young men, Alex Ochsner and Britton Pasco, both tore their ACLs their senior year of high school, and both are now healthy. And so it'll be interesting to see how these 2 young men, really their first time they've been cut loose in our program, and so really excited. Britton, a young man from Bloomingdale High School in Florida, same high school as Dom Ganella. Really look forward to seeing him compete. I know he missed it. He's back in shape. He looks really well and looks healthy and excited. And then, of course, Caden Steindorf, our returning punter. And, Caden averaged 40 yards a punt for us last year. One of the unique things, sometimes, our coaches get wrapped up in the numbers too much, just like everybody else. He had half of his kicks were inside the 20. That tells you he's not kicking, we're not backed up very often. And we're asking him to do a lot of sky kicks. And so my point is he's very functional at what he does, and I look forward to seeing him continue to improve. And excited with the group we have coming back. Like I said, going into the fall, we're going to have 125 kids on the roster. We can only bring 110 into camp, so it's going to be very competitive. That's something that we continually talk about. Is iron's going to sharpen iron, and we're going to find out who the best players are and where people kind of fit on our roster. A couple recruiting. We've had nearly 100 kids on campus over the course of this semester right now. Ian Dino does a tremendous job with our recruiting, the organization of it, just the logistics of it all. Takes a lot of work, and he does a great job. We will be bringing a couple transfers on campus this semester just because we do have some needs. We have some, I don't want to say voids, we just have some unknowns right now. And so we might have to look outside of the box a little bit. I know that's not normal or customary for NDSU, but at the same time, my job is to protect the program and make sure we continue to move forward. And then I'm excited for Pro Day on Thursday. And with that, I'm going to open it up for questions.
Missed in this last year not having a spring ball. 25 games, plenty of opportunity for growth forced on you.
Sure.
And these guys in that. But what do you miss about spring ball and the opportunities it provides for your team?
Well, you're exactly right, Beth. We played 25 games, but guys had to be on scout team for 25 weeks. And so they get away from what we do from a fundamental, from a schematic standpoint. They're trying to be the best version of our opponent. And they do an outstanding job. And we ask them to carry over a lot of the skills and the technique and the fundamentals, but it's not the same. And so when you get into spring, it's never the bison versus the bison. But I'll tell you what, it gets pretty competitive out there. And, I know from an offensive standpoint, our kids on offense feel like they get to go against one of the best defenses in the country, and vice versa. Our defense gets to go against one of the most multiple trade shift motion offenses in the country. And so again, we're gonna continue to elevate each other's play just by by doing what we do now for the next 15 days or so, or really the next 30 days.
You mentioned on the offensive line side, some guys, got so many reps. How do you balance needing them to be that sharp iron to, strengthen
Sure.
those young guys and still recognizing that they played a lot of football?
Well, and that's just the first thing is going back, and we keep track of everything from a metric standpoint, and trying to limit them, but also making sure that they continue to improve on some of the fundamentals. Nash Jensen can continue to play with better pad level. Cody Malk opens his hips on pass pro. Those are some little things that we can fix, we can correct or move in that direction with individual time. And you've been to practice. It's heavy individual time during spring, and that's what we need. Fundamentals, technique, because that's who we are as a pro. That's part of our process, and those are the things we lean on.
And now for Weirds in the middle, with Jackson gone.
We're going to find out. Nick Kubitz is going to take his fair share of reps there as well. So, but I'm excited about both those young men. Nick Kubitz has had a tremendous offseason. You talk, a guy who's been unbelievably positive moving forward. And then, Luke has just battled a little bit of a back injury. Now is cleared. Not going to cut him loose into full contact, but he's going to get all these pictures that are going to be extremely valuable.
How different is it? You mentioned 3/4 of the roster hasn't ever done this before. So what do you think Thursday morning will be, or tomorrow morning will be like?
Well, there'll be some energy. We had morning runs the last 2 days, and you can tell there was a kind of a crescendo. Guys are getting excited. I think we have enough young players that have seen a lot of positive improvement physically. Now, how can they carry that over to the football field? I've told our team before, as an 18-year-old coming out of high school, it's great to be labeled as talented and having potential. As a sophomore in high school or in college, it's not great anymore. There needs to be a level of execution and the ability to do your job on the field. And go ahead.
Quarterback open, is there a depth chart? Where are you sitting?
Right now, I'd see Cam as our starter. If we played tomorrow, Cam would be the starting quarterback. And he asked me in my individual meeting shortly after we returned in January if it was his job to lose, and I said, no, it's your job to keep.
To have him be at that point of that confidence, to be even willing to ask you about it, how have you seen since he took back over and he earned that job back, just his growth and his confidence?
Now I can think of an example when he wasn't very confident, when he was talking to the arena at the basketball and didn't say any words. So, there's things we got to work on still on the field. He's become well versed in what we do offensively, and they all are, and so they challenge one another. This morning we're in a PAT field goal meeting this morning. Cole Payton walks in and he's asking Cam at 6 a.m. a question about the offense. I think that type of interaction is what allows us to continue to push each other's envelope. How good can you really be? We don't know what the best version of Cam, Quincy, Peter Anderson, or Cole Payton is, but those guys are going to try to find out.
Camp can this be for Cole Payton, his first spring camp here?
Well, I think it'll be extremely valuable. We'll continue to use our double rep method as much as we can, based on numbers and health. And so there's going to be, for every rep we have or every rep on a script, we're going to take two. We're going to get two. And so, we'll walk out of there every day with 100, 120 snaps from scrimmage. And, you hope he's getting at least, 30 to 40% of those.
Also still listed as your kicker then for this spring?
We'll find out. Griffin has some experience for us. But we need to continue to find out who's going to give us the best opportunity there. But his experience is valuable.
Phoenix, how big is it to have those sixth years this year?
Unbelievable. You talk about Phoenix, Noah Gindorf, some of the other guys that kind of fit into that mold, guys who've played a lot of football. Their leadership. There's not very many guys on our football team that have gone through spring ball. And so we're leaning on those guys to kind of, lead this group into it. And this group's done a great job. When I say group, I'm talking about the 75% who hasn't. They watch the guys at the front of the room. They watch the guys who are the leaders on this football team. And that's what I think the biggest value. Phoenix doesn't have to take a rep from snap for us this spring, but he's still going to give a ton of value to the 5 or 6 names that I listed in that wide receiver room, especially those young guys.
How's Phoenix doing? He's been through a lot. To see Christian leave, to see Trey leave, that was his crew. And I know he's a great guy and he's friends with everybody, but how is he handling all of it, and then plus coming back from an injury, trying to get back to what he knows he can be.
Well, the numbers say that he's back even better than what he was prior to the injury. But as we all know, the difference between great and good is the space between your ears. And so he's got us to believe it, and so hopefully we can continue to have that positive vibe. And with that positive vibe comes, positive actions and then positive results. And so he just what you saw against USD. We need to get him involved. That needs to happen earlier in the year for him. He needs to be able to cut it loose. He needs to be able to see that he is back. All the numbers, all the metrics say he is, but until you actually do it coming off an injury, I think there's always a level of skepticism.
Valuable is it to have Pauly as that guy in his ear?
Unbelievable. Noah and Phoenix, Coach Pauly's relationship with all these wide receivers. You've seen over the course of the last 3 years, now going into our fourth as a staff, just the talent level in that room, but also the ability to lean on those guys to make plays has continued to grow exponentially.
Thought of having both the low starts played next to one another, is that something you thought of right when you were recruiting them on the late, Phil?
When we go back to recruiting those guys, I thought these guys are going to be really disruptive in our league. And up to this point, I think you've seen that out of Eli. We need to continue to get better, but I think Will has room to grow. I think it's in him. I know it is from recruiting. I'm excited to have both. The worst part of them both playing D tackle now is the way they jab each other and get after each other. It's like practice stops so they can have an argument at times.
Transfers might be needed to take care of some needs. What position specifically are you talking about?
At this time, not going to jump into that. I just think there's some things that, some areas on our football team that we're not proven very well. And so I've told our football team that, hey, for the next 30 days, you're proving it to myself and the rest of our coaching staff. Do we need these? Do we need these players to come in and help us? We're going to do it the right way. Mike, we're going to continue to vet these young men. We're not just, out there throwing a lot of offers into the wind. We're going to make sure we find the right people and people that fit into what we do, both offensively and defensively.
Cordell's spot.
I think right now, I think you're going to see some different combinations. Mason Miller has played that spot. JMU game, Mason Miller did an unbelievable job. Started against Sam Houston in the spring. We've had conversation moving Jalen Sundell there because of the uptick with Westy. Westy did a tremendous, 4 or 5 games maybe this year starting center. And so it's our job over the course of spring, again, create depth, work on our communication, but how can we expand roles for some of our veteran players? And this would be, kind of an example of that.
Zabel, he played a lot played in the spring and got hurt, and then he wasn't. Was he not himself last fall?
I don't think his ankle was 100%. I know it wasn't going through fall camp. I think that set him back a little bit. I think he's at a much different place right now. Again, he's had a tremendous offseason of physical development. I think he's a extremely competitive young man, and so I'm not worried about him stepping back on the field, but I think we can really get a high level of play out of him.
The other younger offensive linemen to kind of keep.
Hunter Pontius, Jake Rock, those two guys need to continue to have really good. Braden Rucker would be another offensive lineman to play center for us, who did some good things for scout team. And so, doing something really well for our scout team is one thing. Now when you have to start going against Eli Mostart, Bryce Friday, Javier Derritt, it'll get interesting.
And the right kinds of guys. To see a guy like Quincy Patterson come in, transfer to this team, and stick through it and stay here despite the adversity he's faced. What have you seen from him?
Very, very mature young man. I think he found a place that feels like home. I think he appreciates the things that we have in place here within our program. I know for a fact he appreciates that this program isn't about spotlighting any one individual, but it's about spotlighting the program. And so I think, a combination of all those things have led, and he's getting challenged. And he knows he needs to continue to play better. But the better he becomes, the better someone else has to become too to keep a job. And, I think that competition's extremely valuable. But believe me, if and when we do bring anyone on campus, Quincy will probably be one of those people that we put in front of them. You know, here's a young man who came here and has had tremendous amount of success, just like Braden Thomas, Luke Laciento, a young man from San Diego, found himself in a backup role, but has embraced it and has done an excellent job for us. Michael Buto, a kind of a backup D tackle, but came in here, gave us great depth, and has really he became one of the faces of the locker room in the 2021 season.
Specifically, physically or mentally, does Quincy bring to that quarterback room that nobody else does? What's his characteristic?
Well, of course, just his God-given size. That you don't see many quarterbacks that are 6'3 plus, 235 pounds, and run as well as he does. So not only can he outrun people, but he can also run through people as well. And so, but he has a great understanding of what we do offensively. He's a sharp kid, big arm, can make all the throws. Just need to continue to develop.
To put it out of your mind completely that this time last year you were playing football games?
For the most part, yeah, until you ask that question.